because he humiliated the military and the Bush administration. I'm going to have to skip this. So heroes are prepared to act. Here's another little kid his father couldn't wake up. The kid calls the Australian equivalent 911. The emergency goes to the wrong place. They call him back. He redirects them, and his father was saved by this action. So here's preparation. So the family, kids have to know to use the emergency thing. They have to know where they live. They have to know how to give directions. So it's the Boy Scout motto. It's not just thinking a hero. You have to have some of the skills, some of the talents. Flying around all day just won't cut it. Sooner or later, you're going to have to fight some evil. So heroes are people who take action. In Poland, there's a hero, Irina Sendler. She saved 2,500 Jewish children of certain death from the Nazis. The Nazis had formed a ghetto in Warsaw and put all the Jews there. And very soon, all kind of disease broke out and hunger. People are dying. She gets a nurse's pass. She was a social worker. Goes in and persuades the parents of these kids to give her their kid. Somebody they don't know. She took them out one at a time. And then she organized a network. So the critical thing about heroes is it doesn't pay to be a single hero. It pays to form a network. And she formed a network with 20 other Polish Catholics. And they took 2,500 kids out, put them with different families, hid them. And the idea is at the end of the war, if the families were discovered, were safe, they reunited the kids. She was arrested, she was tortured, she never gave the information about where the kids were. And she only became a hero recently, because right after that, the communists came in, and they were also anti-Semitic. So most people who do heroic deeds do not expect to be heroes. They say, I did what I had to do. Here she is, she just died recently, this wonderful woman. So here's another Polish-American hero. She's the one who shut down the Stanford Prison Study. She was my graduate student, and she came down on Thursday night because I was having people who had no connection to the study interview all of us. She comes down, and it's the 10 o'clock toilet run. Prisoners in the bags over their heads, chains on their feet. The guards are cursing, yelling at them, hitting them, pushing them. And I look up and say, hey, Chris, look at this. Look at this interesting social psychology, crucible of human nature. And she says, it's terrible what you are doing to those boys. They're not guards, not they're boys, and you are responsible. And we had a big argument, a big fight, and then she says, you have changed. We had just started dating. She says, I don't want to continue this relationship if this is the real you. Because I thought you were loving and caring, and this person, I don't know who this is. So, and this was August 1897. So she forced me to acknowledge that I had become the prison superintendent. And in that role, I was indifferent to the suffering. I didn't cause suffering. I allowed it to happen. I was indifferent to it. So I had to deal with her harshly. And what I did was I married her. In fact, we got married at the Stanford Chapel almost exactly a year later, and we had our 25th renewal of vows at the chapel, and we've been happily married for 36 years with wonderful kids. So situations have the power to do three things. It's the same exact situation that forces the hostile imagination in some people, pushes them across that line to do evil. That same situation inspires the heroic imagination in others. Joe Darby couldn't have done what he did if Abu Ghraib abuses weren't going on. Chris Maslach couldn't have done what she did if there wasn't the horrors of the Stanford Prison Study. So in all these situations, the people who blow the whistleblowers identifying corruption in business, there has to be the corruption for them to be able to challenge it. Most people are guilty of the evil of inaction. You know why? Because they follow their mother's injunction. Mind your own business, don't get involved. And if you do that, you live a long life. But you have to say, Mama, humanity is my business. I have to get involved. So we are starting a Heroic Imagination Foundation with logos like this. So here's the Dixie Chicks. Traitors, heroes, brave, boycott, Saddam's angels. Simply because they challenged George Bush early on in the war. So we want to help people appreciate the bright white line of goodness, ordinary dignity, and everyday moral courage. We want to understand and unleash our inner heroes. So the psychology of heroism is we want to encourage children, families, everyone to develop this heroic imagination. To think of yourself as a hero in waiting, waiting for some situation to come along in which you'll act. But you got to be prepared. So we're developing curriculum starting with the 5th grade all the way through college about the heroic imagination. You have to learn certain skills. If you're going to form a network, you have to have social influence skills. You have to learn to be a deviant. Because all heroes initially are deviant. They're violating the standard of the people around them. So the kids are going to practice being a deviant. So heroes are ordinary people whose social action is extraordinary. The key is, at that cartoon with Superman, you got to act when others are passive. I want to end with 2 short pieces. Here's Wesley Autry, New York subway hero. A white guy falls on the tracks. He's standing there with his daughters. He's got a reason not to get involved. That guy's white, he's black, he's got his kids. There are 75 other people there, they all freeze. And what he does is he turns to the stranger and says, take my kids. He jumps on the track to try to save the guy. And the subway is coming when he jumps down. And he said at the end, he survived. He said, barely. He survived by 1/2 inch. I did what anyone could do, but I did what everyone ought to do. So that's the moral imperative. I did what everyone ought to do. And when you see, he's the most ordinary person in the world.
On the New York City subway, it's hard enough finding someone who will give up his seat to a stranger, let alone be willing to give up his life for one.
The train was coming in like that.
It happened just 50-year-old Wesley Autry, a construction worker and Navy veteran, was standing on a subway platform with his 2 little girls when right in front of them, a man started having a seizure.
He kind of stumbled and over his own feet and fall backwards. I see a train coming, but the train is so close, I'm like, what do I do?
Wesley jumped onto the tracks and thought if he could just lie on top of the man, keep him from flailing, maybe the train would roll right over both of them. The clearance was exactly 21 inches. Wesley and the man, 20.5.
No way the train can stop before this gentleman could get him up off the tracks. So he covered him with his body and pushed him down to a point where the train wouldn't hit his head and held him down under the tracks while the train came and rolled right over the top of him.
It gave Wesley's children the scare of their young lives.
I thought he was going to get killed.
And Wesley, the scare of his, too.
I'm like talking to him, sir, you can't move. I got 2 kids up here looking for the father to come back. I don't know you, you don't know me, but listen, don't panic. You know, I'm here to save you.
As for the guy Wesley saved, he's 20-year-old Cameron Hollipter. And other than a few scrapes and bruises, his father says he's doing fine.
Mr. Autry's instinctive and unselfish act saved our son's life.
You know, the word hero gets thrown around a lot nowadays.
What a better way to start off the new year than to save a life.
So one day you will be in a new situation with 3 paths. Path 1, you become a perpetrator of evil, whether it's corruption, whether it's in being involved on the dark side of that line. Path 2, you're going to be guilty of the evil of inaction. You're going to know what's happening. Like all of us who had bullies in our class, and we were happy we weren't being bullied, and we looked the other way, and we never confronted the bully. But path 3, you go straight ahead and become a hero. So the point is, are you ready to become an ordinary hero, waiting for the right situation to put heroic imagination into action? To be a hero needs only 2 things. You have to think it, and then you have to do it. You have to take action. So, as I said, our hero project is exploring and encouraging our inner heroes. Exploring is, there's no systematic research on heroism. The only research is archival interviews with people done years after the thing. So we're going to do experimental studies, survey studies, web-based studies, if we can get some money. Anybody out there got money? And then encouraging other people through curriculum development, through putting together, have a master website where there's lots of little pieces of people doing stuff on heroism, putting that all together.